Well, look, I love it on paper. I think he's a phenomenal number 2 because he has the talent of a number 1. So with CeeDee Lamb, that's going to be great. But 2 words, contract year. He's in the contract year. It's reported that Cowboys aren't going to re-up him now, which isn't surprising. So he's in the contract year. That could be good in that he has to go out there and have a great season because he wants the bag next year, right? Mm-hmm. So he plays great. Or it could be bad if he doesn't get the number of targets he wants to put up those phenomenal numbers. And then he starts pouting and all of that. And when you look, so I'm giving it a B. I got more to say. I'm giving it a B because I think it's great on paper, but there's a lot of questions. And these are my other questions. The guys that have left the Steelers, like Mike Tomlin is great at handling these tough personalities, right?
Yeah.
And the guys that have left the Steelers, whenever Tomlin's like, you know what, it's time for him to move on, they don't ball out elsewhere. Antonio Brown, great with the Steelers. We know he won the Super Bowl with Brady. What he played 8 games, but never played another full season for another team. And he was young when he left. Le'Veon Bell, a running back, but still was on maybe a Hall of Fame trajectory. Had made two all NFL teams, first team. Never did anything without them. Chase Claypool isn't even in the league. Now, he wasn't on those guys' level, but he was productive for the Steelers. Not even in the league. Deontay Johnson. Yeah, I mean, guys. So I could go even back to Santonio Holmes, who was never as good elsewhere as he was in Pittsburgh. So I just think the Cowboys, Pickens could be problematic elsewhere, off the field. So I'm going to give it a B because he is talented.
I think he's one of the most overrated players in the entire NFL. If we just throw out his rookie year, because rookie wide receivers, it's not like I'm not throwing out because he had amazing numbers. I'm just saying it's a tough position as a rookie. Here are his league ranks the last 2 years in every category. He's 33rd in targets, then 35th. 50th in receptions, then 54th. 16th in yards, that's pretty good 2 years ago. And then 32nd in yards. 35th in touchdowns, 81st in touchdowns.
You put any of that on the QB?
No, yes and no. In that, yes, I put some of it on the quarterbacks, but I also think he benefited from being the clear-cut number 1 option on a team that didn't have a lot of punch in the offense. I also am taking, I think, with more grains of salt than brew, that he's going to be totally happy without a contract extension. Because, and that to me is, he is not the emotional on-field and off-field maturity or lack thereof we've seen from this player doesn't strike me as somebody who is just going to be like, yeah, no problem. I'm just here to prove what I'm worth. And if you look at the top 10 paid receivers in the league, again, I don't think even George Pickens thinks that, okay, I'm going to get Jamar Chase money, but I'm certain one of the reasons the Steelers felt they needed to trade him after when they first traded for DK Metcalf, they were talking about this duo, was the fact that he looks at DK Metcalf's like, okay, that's about my market. Every single one of those guys is much better than him. Guys not on that list, like Nico Collins and Devontae Smith, are much better than him. Yeah. And here is, to me, the real problem, Brew. I think paying him would be a terrible decision. I think not paying him, you are setting up Brian Schottenheimer to immediately, as a rookie head coach, have a problem on his hands. And I also think trading a third-round pick for a one-year rental is awful business. I
think you make good points, obviously, expounding on some of the things I said. Like, I think he'll be fine initially, right? He's got to play the good soldier initially, I would think, and I think he's smart enough to do that. But as we get into the season and his numbers aren't there, and he's like, I want to get this huge payday, that's when it could become problematic on sidelines and all that.
Dusty, do we have the video of George Pickens?
Which one?
Kind of like outbursts. So Dusty made a little compilation of these things.
That one was funny. That one was
that's kind of dangerous.
Some are funny. He's got some wrestling moves. But to speak to Mike Tomlin's greatness as a coach, there's a video that's not in here of Pickens on the verge of a meltdown. I think it was just on a dropped ball or a bad call. And he comes over to the sidelines, and Tomlin says, hey, that play is not going to decide the game. I need to keep you here. But Tomlin had to stop whatever he was doing. And because he's an experienced coach, I think he has the bandwidth to do that. And Pickens ends up making a great catch. It shows kind of Tomlin's genius. I don't know if Schottenheimer has the bandwidth to do that as a first-year head coach under the brightest lights in football. So even Pickens, you know, some of them are funny. Even some of his smaller brush fires that Tomlin was able to quickly tamp out, I don't know if he's going to be able to.
But I agree, and can I add another point?
It's funnier than I thought.
Right, and by the way, this dates, you guys know I love looking at guys' college resumes. This dates back to college, when he was fighting guys in the shrubs at Georgia.
That's why he went in the second round.
Right, and so you know what I have a bigger problem with than any one of these videos? The fact that Christmas Day, in the heart of a losing streak against the Kansas City Chiefs, he shows up 90 minutes before the game. When he knows, man, in theory, I'm trying to get a contract this offseason. This is our biggest game of the year. We've just lost. I think they had just lost to the Ravens, or they're about to lose. I should have looked. But regardless, at the end of the year, the Series falling apart, shows up 90 minutes for the game. We show up earlier than that for the show. And so at some point, and I try not to be a public scold, but like, people are who they show you they are. He's an immature, volatile player who I believe has had in the minds of fans, his production has been overrated because his highlights are so phenomenal. He is clearly wildly talented, and he's fast, and he does average a lot of yards per catch because they're big. He's a big play receiver. I don't know. I know they put Dak's locker next to Micah's.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'd want George Pickens' locker to be. Not next to Micah.
A little bit of defense. If we had a show on Christmas, I'm rolling in like. Depending on the time. We're on at 3, I'll be here. 2:30. A little bit of Grandpa's cough medicine.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.